What's up, NFL fans? So I'm a little late on my NFL previews, but I am here before the main games, at least for week 4, get started. We did have one game already, the Thursday night game. So let's talk about the NFL games for week 4 of the season. So get it started. All right, we'll make sure we got the right screen up here. There it is. That is week 4 of the NFL season, starting in literally an hour and a half now, probably about an hour when this video comes out. So we'll start off by talking about the Thursday night football game this week. The Dallas Cowboys survived the New York Giants 20-15. Daniel Jones played well, 29 of 40, 281 yards. He had a big interception in the end. Of course, no touchdowns, 5 field goals, the difference. Giants, you're going to beat the Cowboys with the Cowboys. If own the Giants, can't kick 5 field goals. So you got to be able to punch it in the end zone once or twice. And Dak and the Cowboys were able to punch it in. Dak threw a pair of touchdowns, and that was the difference in the game. 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals compared to 5 field goals. Cowboys survived 20-15. Not a work of art, not a thing of beauty for Dallas, but they're happy to get out at 2-2. Giants are 1-3 on the season. Would have been nice for them to get some payback because the Cowboys beat them 40-0, or was it 41? I think it was 40. The first game of the year last year was ugly. Then the Cowboys smacked them around again in the Dallas Metroplex. So let's start off with the game starting in about an hour. You got the New Orleans Saints visiting the Atlanta Falcons. Big game here. Saints coming in 2-1, could have easily been 3-0. Defense played well last week. 2 plays lost the game for the Saints. Blown coverage on the Dallas Goedert play, and then Saquon, the 60-plus yard touchdown run. Those 2 plays doesn't happen. The defense played well enough to run, but Philadelphia cracked the code on the Saints offense, which was a cheat code the first 2 weeks of the season. But I think part of that was the injuries to the offensive line. When your offensive line is banged up, it's hard on a team. The Saints lost 2 to 3 linemen last week. A couple guys questionable for this week. They need that offensive line healthy. Alvin Kamara is even questionable for this week. And Chris Olave needs to play for sure. I have him in fantasy in 2 leagues, so thinking he's going to play, but he's questionable. Kamara's questionable. They desperately need him out there. Kirk Cousins and the guys got robbed by the referees in the Kansas City game. They probably should have won that game. That pass interference was horrible, non-call, and they lose that game close to the Chiefs. So the Falcons coming in a 2.5-point favorite over the New Orleans Saints. And I honestly think the Falcons are going to win this game, and both teams are going to be 2-2. 2.5 points is a close spread because I think this will be a field goal type game. It's going to be a go either way type game. If I was betting on it, which I'm not, I'd probably take the Falcons because 2.5, I think they'll probably win by 3. Next game, Los Angeles Rams visiting the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams has been awful much of the year, but, in the second half last week, he showed some promise and did some good things. Playing behind a really bad offensive line, you can't fault a whole lot on a young quarterback being put in that situation. He's got tons of weapons at receiver, but that offensive line is awful. The Rams, they know injuries well. Their top 2 receivers, they're not coming back anytime soon. They're referring to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. But Matthew Stafford still slinging the rock. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league still. That guy's really good. And they picked up a big win last week, a come-from-behind win against their rival, the 49ers, in a home game that was basically a road game because San Francisco always takes over Los Angeles. They have more fans there than the Rams. The Bears are a 3-point favorite here. I would say the Rams have a lot of momentum after last week. If I was betting on this game, and I'm not, I'd probably lean towards the Rams here, getting 3 points. I think this is going to be a very close game, very close competitive game. Both teams 1-2, both hoping not to sink into that 1-3 hole. So big game for both teams here. Close matchup. I think I would take the Rams. But again, I've said this before. I hate 3-point spreads because 3-point spreads, 4-point spreads, and 7-point spreads oftentimes lead to pushes, and nobody likes a push. Green Bay Packers, 2.5-point favorite over the Minnesota Vikings. The 3-0 Minnesota Vikings, led by the mighty Sam Darnold, 657 yards this year, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and an MVP candidate for a guy that was cast away. He is the white Geno Smith. In other words, y'all wrote him off, but Sam Darnold did not write back. I tell you, it's a tough one. They're going into Green Bay. Jordan Love is just coming back from injury. He's expected to play this week. Malik Willis filled in admirably. He played well. Give all props to Matt LaFleur. Great coaching job by him. We'll talk about a coach later, Mike McDaniel, who obviously can't coach backup quarterbacks being thrown in there. That's a story for another day. We'll get to that game later, but give Matt LaFleur all of the props for coaching up Malik Willis and doing just enough to win these games. A guy that was cast away by Tennessee and told after his first year, you can't play in this league before he even finished his rookie year. And then he goes back to Tennessee and smacks around the Titans in front of those fans. And then he says, it's all business, it's just football, it's nothing personal. He said all of the right things being a professional, but he was happy to smack him around in Nashville. But this game's a tough one, man. I probably lean Green Bay with 2.5 points here, but I think that Sam Darnold and Minnesota's red hot, man, going on the road. I think they have a chance here, but I would lean towards Green Bay. The over and under is 43.5. I would definitely take the over on this game. I think there's going to be some points scored in this game. I see this one around a 27-23, 27-24 type game. Next game's the 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers against the 1-2 Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson has not looked good, to say the least, and that's an understatement. Guy's got 583 yards, 3 touchdowns, and six interceptions up to this point in the season. So, yeah, he's not looked good. Jonathan Taylor's got 261 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground for them. Pittsburgh's undefeated, as I mentioned. And what's good about Justin Fields here is Justin Fields is not turning the ball over. He's playing smart football. When you're playing it for Mike Tomlin, that defense is going to be fantastic. Offense is not great, but they're 3-0 mainly because of their defense. TJ Watt and the gang, until those guys get hurt, that's a mighty, mighty tough defense. So Justin Fields, do your thing. Don't turn the ball over. And they've been piling up some victories, and I think they might pile up another one here. They're a 2.5-point favorite. Think they beat Indy by a field goal or so. Definitely take the under on 40.5 because most of Pittsburgh's games are the under because Pittsburgh, they don't score many points, and you don't score many points against them. So I like this game to be around 20-13 or 20-17, something like that in favor of the Steelers. We'll go Denver Broncos. Got a big win last week at Tampa. 8-point underdog to Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Under on this game, over and under 39.5. Denver's not a high-scoring team. Jets play good defense. Denver, Bo Nix looked pretty good last week for the first time this year. He looked pretty good, and the Broncos put 26 up on the road against a previously undefeated team. Give Sean Payton props for that. Sean Payton is never going to be terrible. They're going to win games. Maybe not a lot of games, but they're going to win games. It's hard to go against the Jets here in this situation. The Jets should win this game. Rodgers looked really good for the first time this year last week. He looked pretty mediocre and shaky in the first 2 games, but he looked really good last week. And the Jets cruised to a win against New England. Question is, can Rodgers keep it going? I think Rodgers can do just enough here. 8 points is a lot. I'd probably take Denver if I'm betting point spread, the Jets to win. But the play I would do if I was betting this game is I would go to under 39.5. I think this game hits the under. I think the Jets probably win this game something like 20-10, 20-13 type of game. Not going to be a high-scoring affair. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, they smacked the Eagles around in the playoffs a year ago when the Eagles collapsed at the end of the season. Eagles are a 1-point favorite on the road. Eagles sort of, I don't want to say got lucky, but they sort of did get lucky a little bit against the Saints last week. Had the huge third down play. Saints screwed up a few times in that game. Injuries and attrition got to the Saints last week in the Dome. I think Tampa Bay is going to have a bounce-back effort, losing at home last week to Denver. I think they're going to have a bounce-back effort. Jalen Hurts, man, he's an interception machine. He's got 772 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I'm watching the broadcast on ESPN the other day saying Jalen Hurts is a top 5 MVP candidate. How in the hell are you a top 5 MVP candidate when you got 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and I believe a couple fumbles this year? Saquon Barkley's been the MVP of that team. He's been really good. 351 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that huge 63-yard touchdown run against New Orleans last week. Chris Godwin's been playing really well for Tampa. 253 yards, 3 touchdowns. Of course, Mike Evans is a beast. But again, I like Tampa. They're a 1-point underdog there at home. I think they bounce back this week and win this game. Next on the docket, Cincinnati Bengals 0-3, taking on the Carolina Panthers 1-2. I thought there was no chance they would lose that game to Washington on Monday night because I just did not envision Joe Burrow and these guys going 0-3. Burrow played well in the game. The problem was the defense. The defense couldn't stop Jaden Daniels and company, and 4.5-point favorite. Carolina looked good for the first time in a long time last week under Andy Dalton, who came in relief of Bryce Young. Andy Dalton played a really good game, and Cincinnati got a really good win against Carolina, got a really good win against the Raiders a week ago. So 4.5-point favorite for Cincinnati. I'm going to keep picking Cincinnati because at some point the Bengals are going to break out. The defense is going to play better, more complimentary football with Joe Burrow and Chase going deep. They're going to break out at some point. Why not this week? I think they cover the 4.5 points and win this game against Carolina. I probably would take the over too because I think Andy Dalton's got Carolina's offense rolling a little bit, certainly more than Bryce Young. Next, Jacksonville Jaguars 0-3. Trevor Lawrence getting paid that cheddar and playing like doo-doo butter. On the road against the Houston Texans team coming in 2-1. Houston has been a team that we thought coming in was a Super Bowl contender, and they still may be, but they've not been that great. C.J. Stroud's not been that great. He's got 709 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I said before the year he might have a little regression because so many people are putting him on the pedestal as a top 5 quarterback after one rookie season, which was great. This season's been only okay for Stroud. Boy, Jacksonville, I would hope and think they would be hungry in this game. Trevor Lawrence is making all that money that they would at least cover the 5.5-point spread. They're underdogs to Houston. Houston's going to be hungry because Houston did not look good last week. They looked like crap. So you would think both teams would be hungry for a good performance out here today in H-Town. Hard pick. I'm going to say Jacksonville's going to lose this game by less than 5.5. So I would put my money on Jacksonville, but at the same time, I think Houston finds a way to win, maybe on a last-second field goal, late touchdown by C.J. Stroud. The over-under is 44.5. I probably lean towards the over. I think there'll be a lot of points scored in this game. I think Jacksonville gets their offense going. I think Houston gets their offense going. And I see this game being a 27-24 type Houston game. So next is the Washington Commanders taking command last week. What a win on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. Jaden Daniels balling out, the last year's Heisman Trophy winner for the Bayou Bengals, balling out on the ground, in the air, always in control. They got to go to Arizona, and I think Kyler Murray is going to be ready for this one. Kyler's been good this year, even though his team's 1-2. He's been good for the most part. Marvin Harrison, the rookie, he's been good. He had one great game, but he's got 198 yards and 3 touchdowns this year. Much of that came in one game, a dominant performance against the Rams. But Arizona's at home here. I think short travel week for Washington. They were on Monday Night Football in Cincinnati, and now Sunday they're flying to Arizona. I think that's going to take a toll on them. So give me the Arizona Cardinals in the 3.5 points. I think they cover that, and I think they win this game. I don't like the 3.5 because this game could be a 3 or a 4 point. I'd rather 3.5 than 3 because 3 and 4, they always give you potential for a push. So I think with 3.5, but I like Arizona to cover. I think they win this game by a touchdown. So now I go to the late window, and I'll start in the late window with the New England Patriots at 1-2 against the also 1-2 San Francisco 49ers. Much like Cincinnati, I'm waiting and expecting the 49ers to break out. They got injuries, and they looked like garbage last week. The last 2 weeks they've lost. So maybe they break out here. Brock Purdy, 842 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception on the season. 49ers a 10-point favorite. That's a lot of points. I can see them winning this game by 10. I'd stay away from that spread and take the under of 41.5 if I was betting on this game. But taking it head on, got to come up with something here. I think the 49ers win this game pretty handily, 20-6. I would take them in the points here. I would go that route. Cleveland Browns 1-2, Las Vegas Raiders 1-2. Vegas Raiders lost an embarrassing game last week against Andy Dalton in Carolina. Cleveland Browns, they're 1-2. They also suffered defeat last week. Gardner Minshew, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for the Raiders. Coach Pierce talked about, it's a possibility they could go to AOC at quarterback, so we don't know here. Brock Bowers has been really good for the Raiders, 18 catches, 197. He's been as advertised. Raiders at home, Cleveland 2.5. I actually like Cleveland in this game. I think Cleveland will bounce back, win this game by a field goal at least. Over under 36.5 is really low. I'd probably take the over because it's really low. I think these two teams will win, play like a 21-20 type game, 23-20 type game. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Chiefs 3-0 with help from the referees. The Chargers 2-1. Justin Herbert expected to play. He's been banged up, missed time last week, left the game. Chargers tend to play the Chiefs close. The Chargers play this game at home, which is no home field advantage. Trust me, I've been to that stadium. The Chiefs will probably have just as many or more fans, but they tend to play the Chiefs pretty tough, especially at home. I think 7.5. I would bet my money on the Chargers. If I was betting, I'd also take the over on 41.5. If Justin Herbert doesn't play, all bets are off. But Jim Harbaugh, he knows how to ugly up a game, running game, good defense. He knows how to ugly it up. So, though I just said I would take the over, I could see this game going under and being a 20-17 type game. But I think Patrick Mahomes and these guys, a little more offense. I think I would take the over. Chiefs, I think, win this game, but not cover. Patrick Mahomes' numbers this year, by the way, are not good. 659 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Not good. Buffalo Bills play the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. 3-0 Buffalo, 1-2 Ravens. As a Dolphin fan, I would love to see Buffalo lose, and I'd love to see Buffalo lose anytime they step on the field. But they're playing excellent football. Josh Allen's not turning the ball over, and the key is Josh Allen's great. If Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over, Buffalo's a really hard team to beat because as great as he is, as many plays as he makes, he also loses some games with turnovers and brain farts, and he hasn't done that this year. People talked about them not having weapons. Shakir, he's got 168 yards receiving, a couple touchdowns. He's got 2 good tight ends, has an excellent running game. Lamar Jackson's got 702 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Derrick Henry's a monster, 281 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think the Ravens are a 2.5 point favorite. I think I would probably lean Buffalo here, even though the Ravens are 1-2 and they need this game. I think Buffalo, the Ravens have been choking away games this year in the end. I'd probably lean Buffalo here to cover the 2.5 and win. I would definitely take the over 46.5. Pretty good point number, but I would lean towards the over. I think this could be a 30-27 type game. Monday Night Football is a doubleheader. There's no question the first game of this doubleheader is a game you're only going to watch if you're a fan of these two teams. Who wants to watch the Tennessee Titans and the Miami Dolphins play in Hard Rock Stadium? The spread's actually flipped to where the Dolphins are 2.5-point favorite here. They're actually getting a little more props, deciding to go with Tyler Huntley as the quarterback. Now, he was on the Ravens practice squad and signed to Miami's active roster last week without Tua. Hopefully Tua comes back in a couple weeks, at least plays for that Cardinals game. That's the first game he's eligible to return. So hopefully we see Tua back in that game. Last week, Skylar Thompson was terrible. Tim Boyle came in after Skylar Thompson got injured. So, yeah, he played a crappy game and he got injured. And then, like I said, coming into the game after him was Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle actually probably looked a little bit better than excuse me, I'm trying to kill this background noise. I'm sorry if you hear it in the background. My TV just unpaused. But even though Tim Boyle was probably a little bit better than Skylar Thompson, 3 points on the board. The Dolphins have scored the fewest points in the league through 3 games after a year ago, scoring the most points in the league after 3 games. It's been a little bit of a train wreck, and Will Levis for the Tennessee has probably been the worst quarterback in the league, at least one of them. 579 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. And a couple of those interceptions have been awful. Not bad, but awful. So I tell you right now, it's going to be an ugly football game. I would definitely take the under on 36.5, even though it's not a lot. Tyler Huntley has the ability to be able to get out and run and improvise and do some plays on the run. As long as he doesn't turn the ball over, I think Miami probably wins this game ugly. It's going to be an ugly game, something like 13-12, 12-10, something like that. I could easily see that. But, man, if we don't win this game at home against the Tennessee Titans, the season is truly over. I don't even care. It's over. You got to win this game. Titans are 0-3. The Titans are miserable. You got to find a way to win this game. Hopefully Huntley can get the ball to Hill and Waddle because Skylar Thompson couldn't. You know, those people saying anybody could succeed in that offense. McDaniel's play calling has been atrocious, abysmal, terrible, all of the above. I see an ugly win. I think Miami pulls it off. It won't be pretty. Definitely take the under if you're betting on that game. As far as the point spread, I'd probably stay away from it at 2.5 right now. Maybe when it was 1 point, I probably would have leaned Miami, but I'd stay away from it at 2.5. So the last game's the much better Monday night game. The Seattle Seahawks at 3-0, visiting the Detroit Lions at 2-1. Seattle hasn't played the best of competition. They've looked really good on defense. Geno, 787 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jared Goff's been a little up and down himself, but they got Jamar, they got Gibbs, they got St. Brown. Detroit's a legit contender. I like Detroit. 3.5. Again, I don't like that spread because you can fall somewhere in the middle. I can see that going as a 3-point game or a 4-point game. I'll go ahead and roll the dice, and I like Detroit by a touchdown at home. I think they win like 27-20. Take the over on 46.5 and go Lions right there for the victory. All right, so these games are getting ready to kick off in less than an hour. So I hope you enjoy these NFL games today. I won't actually be home for most of them, but I will definitely be following along with the games tonight. Hopefully, I help you out on some bets if you're going to bet some of these point spreads, and we'll see how everything goes. So, but again, on this channel, we're going to talk everything more than just football. I want to talk a little bit about everything. So I'll even talk a little bit about the baseball playoffs, even though my Tampa Bay Rays aren't in it. I'll talk a little bit about it. So talk a little bit about the WNBA. We'll talk a little bit about everything. I'll even get in hockey if I can. So we'll talk everything. So make sure you tune right back. Same channel, same time. Well, maybe not the same time. I'm trying to get more consistent with posting every day because I haven't been posting as much as I would like, but we'll try to get a little more consistent. We'll talk the craziness of college football coming up soon in the next couple of days, and we'll talk about these games as they end. So Tuesday, we'll expect to get a breakdown on the games from this past week. So as always, it's peace in sports. See y'all later.